Hi everyone, this is Sylvan. I'm just gonna get this out of the way. You've seen the other two videos. So first off, let's start with Anwin and her abilities. Nature's Bosom. I'd actually kind of put this in A tier. For one real simple reason. Giving Shield 1 for Sylvan is pretty busted. Sylvan's downside is that their base health is super low. All of a sudden, you give them a shield, and all of a sudden, they have on par stats with other units, except they have better keywords and you have better support and all that. So, I think Nature's Bosom could either have a gold increase or remove the shield or something. I just don't like the shield on it. I think it's really annoying. Esther, sorry. Volume's up. Replace. I'm gonna put replace in B. It can work. Don't get me wrong. I just think replace is really niche. Your opponent can kind of see it coming in a way. Putting units really out of place is pretty. Well, it's not out of place. It's just Sylvan has enough mobility options where you can really do without replace. It's not again. I can see people using it. Just don't think it's really necessary. Tranquility. I think this is by far her best ability. Um, just saying no to literally anything in the game is really busted. The opponent buffs something, you just tranquility it. You can even say no, you're not going to remove it. Your opponent, one of your guys is out of position, you just tranquility it. Can't die. Nothing they can do about it. So, yeah, tranquility is really just a nope. You're not going to do this anymore kind of ability. All the quickens, it's kind of weird. The difference on them is so many of them. I'm gonna have to probably change these. Personally, I would say I would kind of rank it like this. In a way, 1, 2, 3 are good just because there's plenty of units in these options. You'd want to give them an extra action. It's not just they're not terribly expensive and all that, so you have plenty of options for these. And once you get to 4 and 5, this really is just only like one unit that you're wanting to buff. Quicken 5 is literally just for their 14 gold units. There's only 2 of them. Sure, you can use it, but I just think they're really expensive and you're putting a lot of eggs in one basket at that point. Yeah, these two, again, there's plenty of options. Quicken 1's cheap enough to where you can just Glade Hawk, quicken it, run it in. Quicken 2 has has the hunters, a lot of good options, and Quicken 3 has just pretty much every staple Sylvan unit in the game. But anyway, this is how I would personally rank Anwin. Caladrix, True Strike, S tier. Uh, it really is it's just too cheap. Just giving him True Strike is insanely busted, and it's essentially his only mana ability in the entire game. I'll get to his other one in a minute, but pretty much I think True Strike is just insanely busted for how much it costs. And the other situations, it's pretty much just to answer everything, and even answers Tranquility. And Tranquility, I think, is super busted, and True Strike deals with that. So, yeah, I think you'd use a gold increase or something or another to put it in line. Blink, I'm putting Blink in B. Seen people use it, mainly just to give them spell proof, but I think Caladrix wants to be moving fast around the board, killing stuff. Sylvan, again, has other movement options. I don't think he needs Blink, especially since it exhausts him. So I just think there's better options. Again, I've seen people use it. It can be good, but I just think there's better options. Camouflage is A. has infinite evasion, or evasion infinite, so if your enemy's running a lot of ranged units, you run camouflage, all of a sudden he's immune to everything. And again, for Blade Echo, I really have to rank it like this just because it's my general opinion. Blade Echo 3 is his best ability, and like everything else is just C, I would honestly say. Uh, Essentially, the reason I put these way down here is because I don't see a reason not to run Blade Echo 3. If you're gonna play Blade Echo just 1 or 2, you might as well just spend the extra gold to get Blade Echo 3, because Blade Echo 3 is fucking goddamn busted. Uh, you're essentially getting 2 extra attacks for free. It doesn't cost mana. It's super easy to get Caladrix into position, and you can essentially just instantly kill 2, if not 3 units. Even if it doesn't actually kill them, they're going to be at half health. So you just run Blade Echo 3 and True Strike, and then just put up shit ton of items on Caladrix. And all of a sudden, you got a unit that's literally just going to kill the entire enemy army. And there's really nothing the enemy can do about it, in my opinion. I really think Blade Echo should at least have a mana cost. Like, I don't really see a reason not to. And yeah, that's Caladrix for me. On to the units. Gladehawk, I think, is S tier. Simply put, if you're running a 1 health unit, you can't anymore. Gladehawk has 4 movement, so it can easily sit out of range of most things. And if you're Aaron Guard, you have to run Shield Bearer. If you don't, Gladehawk's gonna kill all your shit. Gladehawk beats every single 2 gold unit except for like I guess Spike Collar Hound and Squire. But Spike Collar Hound's not running Gath very much, and Aaron Guard has plenty of 1 health units where you'd want to run Gladehawk anyway. So I think this is just very polarizing as a 2 gold unit. I don't think it should be this strong. I don't know the right answer to it, but I think it doesn't need to just say, hey, all your 1 health units, you can't run them anymore. Wisp. I think Wisp is B. It's just a nice sacrificial unit. You can either heal a unit for 2, or it could break a unit for the round. The one change I would have Wispy is to maybe just say broken next turn, and not for the whole round, because for a 2 gold unit, just breaking a unit for a whole round is quite, oh my god. But just for a turn, I can see that still being used. You break them, the enemy goes, and then you can hit it for like an army unit. You can hit it for full damage. If it has steadfast, you can charge into it or whatnot. But it's just my opinion. That's the one change I'd have, but I think it's still alright. Taunting Satyr, putting him in S tier. Fuck this card. First off, essentially, you just have Taunting Satyr, and you just put him in one of these 4 hexes, and you can run like 2 of them, and your opponent essentially just can't run things here. He's gonna run up, taunt it. The unit's now here. It's out of position. It's exhausted, and then you just run things into it until it dies. A Taunting Satyr should really only have 1 movement, in my opinion. It's dumb. It's really overpowered. The fact there's a lot of 2 golds or S, it's really dumb. I don't like it. Yeah, change Taunting Satyr. Sentinel. I think this is their best card in the game. Every Sylvanless is going to run at least 3, guaranteed. The main strength isn't as power, is not as stats. It's the fact that it has Maneuver. Maneuver is probably Sylvan's best mobility tool. It's 3 on a 3 gold unit that has very good stats for whatever reason. So you can usually guarantee it's going to survive at least a couple rounds, and the fact that it's just a constant supply of swaps just makes it so paramount in Sylvan lists. I think as long as it's like this, it's always going to be Sylvan's best unit, just because it's a very cheap mobility trick, and Sylvan really likes those. Sentinel, I'd probably say it's F tier. It's probably the worst unit, simply because this fucking Sentinel costs the same exact amount. It just has a way better maneuver. It's a protector can't move when it uses maneuver. It doesn't. It's not combinable, so it has to be adjacent to something. It doesn't have a damage stat, and it's way too niche. So when I compare Depot Protector and Sentinel is the best unit in the game, and I just don't see a reason to take Protector because Sentinel is the same cost. So I would just say Protector is their worst unit. There's just no reason to take Protector over Sentinel. Archer is B tier. It's like a longbow archer essentially, and has its ups and downs compared to a longbow archer. The downside is that Steadfast really fucks with it. The upside is, hey, it can infinitely kite a cave troll. If the Tether Archer and Cave Troll are less 2 units, then Fletcher Archer can just run around in a circle and keep shooting it. Fletcher, S tier. For one simple reason, taunting Satyr in this card essentially guarantees you a kill at the start of the game. Because you taunt it, can't do anything, and unless the opponent somehow makes so you can't attack the unit, like Anwin or Aurelius Solarius, you pretty much get a free kill because you can net shot it, or not net shot it, you can hook shot it, pull it into your team, and at that point it's gonna die. Doesn't matter what the opponent does. If it's in the middle of your army, it's going to die. So, and also the fact Fletcher, you don't have to spend an action to buff a unit and say, hey, I'm giving this unit net shot or hook shot or whatever, is dumb in my opinion. I don't know why Fletcher isn't just a, hey, I'm gonna buff you type unit. It kind of just sits there and buffs things by itself. So it can just sit there, no action required. You just net hook shot something, and then you exhaust it. Cause who cares? And it's got 4 mana, 4 uses. You're probably not gonna use 4. Cause you're gonna win the game by then. But what the fuck? In my opinion, if I could change it, I would just say at least have it be a buff. Buff something first and then have it be exhausted. The fact that it just does it by sitting there, it's just dumb in my opinion. You can even reduce the range. There's just so many things I could change about this card. There it goes. Yeah, S tier for Fletcher. Hunter, I'd say B tier. Just a very solid flanking unit. Not incredibly expensive. Very good against archers. Stats are really low, so it dies all the time. But if you want a cheap flanker, this is your man. Mystic, again, I would say it's A tier. Even though Sylvan dies pretty quickly, I still think having a healer, at least one, is very important. She's the cheapest healer in the game for 4 gold, so it's not a huge tax. And plus, Sylvan just has some really tanky units that you'd want to heal anyway. They're cheap, they're really squishy units are really squishy. The really tanky units are really tanky. So yeah, just say it's just a healer, so just A tier. Sorcerer, I'd also put Sorcerer in A tier, just because it's just a very nice support unit. It has a silence. It has 3 debuffs on him. I don't know why he needs 3. I think 2 is fine, but he has a silence. You can break a unit, or you can root it. And his stats aren't completely terrible for combat, so I think just having at least 1 is incredibly good. Has, again, the plethora of debuffs it has is incredibly high, so the options are there for you. Witch Hunter. I'm gonna put Witch Hunter in C for a simple reason. He's a tech card. When he's good, he's good. Don't get me wrong. But you're not just gonna run him to run him. So I'd put him in C because when he's bad, he's dog shit. But when he's good, he's good. But easy answers to which hunter that the enemy can run. Grand Archer, I'm gonna put in C. Same reason for Elite Longbow Archer and regular Archer. You're really spending 3 gold for just 1 more damage. I feel like you can just get a second Archer, have the same result. So I just think C. It's not terrible unit again, but I just think I'd rather just run 2 Tether Archers. Centaur Guard, I'd also gonna put in C. Sorry. Again, the reason I put him in C, because Sentinel's S tier. It's the best unit in the entire game, in my opinion. It's second. It's like the second best unit in the entire game. But because Sentinel exists, Guard just immediately goes down in value because big thing Centaur Guard has is maneuver. But you can. I would rather have 2 Sentinels than 1 Centaur Guard. So there's that. Great Hunter, A tier. It's kind of like a war rider, but for Sylvan. So don't really need to go into it. Backstab's incredibly good. Has evasion for archers, but yeah, it's just essentially Sylvan's war rider and knight. So E tier. Arbor Mage, I'm actually gonna put him in D tier for a simple reason. Shield of Thorns is just terrible for a simple reason. If you're playing Sylvan, you don't want to get hit at all. The best way to play Sylvan is to just not get hit. Arbor Mage is saying, hit me, but again, I don't want to hit you. So Shield of Thorns is just way too overcosted. I don't really see a reason why it's 2 mana. So it's It's really expensive for Hedge too. Sure, giving Steadfast and Spellproof is good, but for 6 gold, that's essentially all you're doing. I feel like it could be cheaper. If it was cheaper, I'd put it up higher, but I just don't really think Arbor Mage is all that good. Also considering, you can just maneuver stuff out of the way. So, there's that. You can just maneuver stuff out of the way. Dryad, I think she's B. Very solid unit. She's ranged. Constantly breaking stuff is good. Spellproof, she's there. I really don't know why you'd want to target this with debuffs and stuff. She does have it. And because of mobility tricks, it's kind of similar to Vesuvian Archer, but she's just better. I'd rather have a break than the extra damage that he does. Plus, you can swap her into range. So, yeah, as you can tell, there's a goddamn reason he's the best, because swap is so incredibly good. Hippogriff. I'm going to put him in A, simply because I think you can kind of interchange these 2 units. Hunter has backstab and evasion. Hippogriff has flying and counter-strike and an extra health. So they're both pretty similar. I would kind of say you can run either or and you'd be happy. So yeah, I'd just put him in the same tier. No, High Sorcerer, I would put him in C, just because the regular Sorcerer really does a good job. The only thing the High Sorcerer has, he has an extra mana, which is alright. He has an extra health, and he has extra range on all of his abilities. Sounds good, but there's a lot of really good units you'd want to run as Sylvan, so I think you'd rather just have a cheaper option just to fit in an extra unit or 2. So, yeah, put him in there. Ranger, I would say is B. Same reason for Dryad, it's just very good unit. Backstab is really good. Break is amazing. He has Spellproof. You'd actually would want to disable this unit, so Spellproof on him is incredibly good. You can swap him in range and stab stuff. Considering Break happens before attacking, he also does really good against like physical damage return and armor, because he breaks and then the damage goes through. So, it's incredibly good. Not a must take, but still pretty solid unit. Elder Mystic, I'm putting in D. Uh, I'd rather have 2 Mystics than 1 Elder Mystic. And like I said, Sylvan usually dies really fast. There's really not a whole lot of stuff you'd want to heal. It's just way too expensive for me. Morphing Champion. Again, I'd put him in B. It's kind of similar to these 2 units, except it's a bit more expensive. Sylvan really likes their really cheap units. Again, not terrible. Does have upsides. He does an extra damage to an adjacent unit, which can be useful. He benefits from Fletcher, which is always nice, but I just think I would rather run these units than Champion, in my opinion. Druid, and his trained friend. I would put him in B. If before the nerf, I'd put him in S, but I think he's at a point where I'd put him in B. So he comes in with his trained friend. Trained is a really tanky unit. He has a nice attack, a debuff on attack, good defensive stats. Druid can heal him up, or he can teleport units adjacent to him. So good mobility trick. Pretty expensive, but he's still pretty solid thanks to his mobility trick. Hippogriff Archer. I'm kind of hesitant in putting him in A. Just simply because of this combo, I would put him in A. You don't need to run Hippogriff Archer, but if you combine him with Satyr, Fletcher, Hippogriff Archer, it's essentially just a free kill. It's really nothing your opponent can do about it. I think Hippogriff Archer is really good just because it has 4 health, similar to Catapult. Except it's just way better, way more usable, so whatever. Enchantress. Enchantress is B. She hasn't seen much play, but I still think she's pretty solid. Just because Beguile. If you Beguile something, you can literally just win the game right then and there. Untouchables has niche uses, but it's really just Beguile. You Beguile something, it's fun. Like, you can literally just win the game right then and there. And you can swap it into range, like everything else, so. Thorn Elemental, B, and it's just a really solid unit. It requires very specific answers. The fact it has spellproof and physical damage return means the enemy needs imbued or some other way of dealing with it. So just the fact that it has spellproof and physical damage return, I'm putting it here. Stats are pretty good, but yeah, put them here. The Bears, I'm ranking them together because yeah, the Bears. I'm kind of hesitant putting them in A, but I'm gonna put them in. Actually, no, I'm gonna put them in A. They're just incredibly cost efficient. Sure, you have to take both, but both are just good. Ursa Minor is just a bear. Roar is great. It's got good stats. And Ursa Major is really busted. 7. It's got stats are incredibly good. The Roar, moving things 2 hexes away, is super strong. So yeah, I would put them in A tier just because if you really need a frontline option, I would recommend these 2 first. They're just incredibly strong and powerful. Bolo I'd also put in A. It's kind of the heavy knight of Sylvan. It's kind of got similar stats and all that, so I'd put him in A. If you can really play around that unit. Green Dragon, I'm actually going to put in C for a few reasons. One, it's really expensive, and as you can tell, it's got a lot of units they want to run. It really is like a tech unit. It's good, like I said, don't get me wrong, it can still be good. But if the opponent's running a lot of really small units, a lot of units that can chip out this unit, then Green Dragon loses a lot of strength. Green Dragon's really just like they're running a lot of big units. I'm going to run Green Dragon, but Sylvan doesn't have any problems with them, so I'm going to put him in C for that reason. And then Bowmaster, I'm also going to put in C, just because I think I'd rather run Hippogriff Archer than Bowmaster. Bowmaster doesn't do more damage, but he's more expensive. He requires a lot more protection, and so I'm just gonna put him in C tier. Anyway, this is the Sylvan list. A lot of A's and S's, but you know, this is my list, so hope you guys enjoyed it. I kind of went through this one pretty fast, but